What is going on, y'all? What is going on? How are you guys doing today? Welcome back to another RareFUD Radio episode. My name is Bison, aka Bison Trades, over on Twitter, and we are talking a little bit about Breakpoint today. I think Breakpoint is probably the most talked about thing going on over the next few days, as well as some Utes news. We got some Utes news. A very first thing you hear from Breakpoint. It's exciting stuff. So we'll be talking about all of that today. We're going to be diving into the schedule, kind of seeing if we can glean some alpha from the speakers over there, talk a little bit about maybe some speculation. Of course, we'll be talking about some alpha, but in this market right now, a lot of the alpha is really just sitting on your hands. There's not a whole lot of moves to be made. And so capital preservation is always our primary objective here in this bear market. And joining me today are my wonderful co-hosts. Let's bring on Joe Soul. Joe, how you doing today, man?
Yo, Bison, doing well, man. Back on my feet after a little hiatus. Was down bad from a little sickness, but was still able to trade a lot. Just wasn't as vocal as normal. So still have my finger on the pulse of the market for sure because I haven't been out touching grass. So yeah, man, excited to get into some of the nuances that we can talk about today. Not a lot going on, but there is some key components to the market that I think we can definitely get into.
Yeah, absolutely. It's lovely to hear your voice, Joe. I gotta
Thank
say,
you,
because it
thank
has
you,
been
brother. I
it
miss
is
you
it is
guys.
it's been a minute, and it's been nice to hear your voice again and hear it well too. We've had some audio issues with your internet,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now that we are wired in, we're good to go. Joe Soul is back, baby. Maybe this is the catalyst we need to bring us into a bull market. And of course, joining us as always is Dorian. Dorian, how you doing today, my man?
Yo, I'm doing great, man. Every day is a holiday and it's feeling like Christmas. You know why? Because we got stable Joe. It's like, dog, like we broke the curse of like losing Joe in the middle of the show.
That's right, dude. I'm so excited because the few times we were able to have Joe on, just because he's been sick, he's had some IRL stuff to deal with as well. It has been pretty bad listening to him. Not because you're not a beautiful voice, Joe, but because holy cow, it has been glitching back and forth, and now I'm hearing it just like 4K Joe over
Crystal
here. So
clear, dog.
I know
Yo,
I'm excited.
Joe's been down bad and his connection's been down bad.
That's right.
Yeah, bro. And my Twitter got flagged. Like people just don't want to see me
Oh,
win, bro. But guess what? I'm a fighter, bro. I'm
That's
a
he's
yo,
still
he's
here.
back. Let's go.
Still here, baby. Yo, we got some stuff to talk about. Thank the goodness. Like we got
Yeah.
a little bit of news. Obviously, let's talk a little bit about market conditions. So, if we're just checking out what the current stats are right now for the past 24 hours, because we always do. 80K sold volume. Not really looking too great over the past 24 hours. Again, volume's kind of a vanity metric at this point until we start getting real royalties back and everything. It sounds like, Breakpoint could be a catalyst for a lot of things. It sounds like
Yep.
royalties could also be coming into play here soon. We did talk about it last episode with Adam Apes dropping with Brave, and Magic Eden was teasing that they're working with Cardinal Labs and both those people to enforce creator royalties. So
Mhm.
there could be some speculation there. I'm very excited to see what happens on that front, but Breakpoint could bring us back into at least a little bit more optimism in this market, which is going to be nice. The very first announcement we had, though, I don't know if you guys saw, but Utes reveal is in 48 hours. Guys, how excited are we for this? Let's go over to Dorian first.
Yo, look, dog, I'm excited because Utes kicked off the last mini bull run, so I think it'll be the same with this one, man. Let's go. I'm ready to see Utes after all this time of teasing. But you know what? I'm not going to get too excited because if anything I know about Frank is that he's the master of delay. So I'm going to wait until like sights up and everything before I get excited about minting Utes.
Yeah, I will give Frank the benefit of the doubt because it's hard when you have the weight of the whole market on your
Yo, you
shoulder.
ain't
It
never
feels
lied.
like so. It feels like this time he's learned his lessons, no more delays, and going in front of Breakpoint and saying this time within 48 hours, probably a pretty much more like foundational, solid statement when you're making claims like that in front of Breakpoint of all people. So, Joe, how we feeling about Utes, man?
feeling great. Very excited that they finally, giving the due date. Now, I just really hope they like, we cannot mess around, right? It's got to have the reveal. We just have to have it because I think people will start. This is the last hope, right? 100 soul floor held back to like 117, 118. You can see some volume coming in. People are excited, but I do think if there is another delay, I know everyone I understand how much is going into it, but I just think the paradigm, we got to stick it. But if we do stick it, I think it's going to unravel a nice little bull run for us because you're going to have all these big teams that have been building and are ready to lay out their plans. They're going to be hitting that hard now, right? Pilots can get into marketing. All these teams that really wanted to kill can get into the marketing and really just know that liquidity is not going to be tied up for them, and they can have a free for all there. So I'm really excited, and I'm hearing rumors that you want to be at your desktop during the reveal. I don't know why. But so it's exciting, right? It's giving that feel back that we had 3 months ago, and if that can trickle down and compound, I think we can have a nice little bull on our hands here. But how do you want to play that is the question, right? Do you want to get floor things and get liquid and then try to play that soul pump, or like what do you want to do here? I guess we can kind of talk about what we should do, but what we want to do.
Yeah, we're definitely. I think spending about 5-10 minutes on this is probably a good idea because I have a few interesting questions for you guys. It was ironic because I was messaging you guys literally this morning saying, guys, kind of thinking about selling my Utes. Like, I don't know. It just seems like we're just kind of staying in this like 110, 120 range, not really doing much. The last time we saw some FUD went down to 90. Who knows what's going to happen post reveal, all that good stuff. Who knows when reveal is going to be? And then, of course, drops this literally like an hour later. We're just front running the market over here. So when it comes to Utes, I have a question for you guys. Do you think it would be more valuable to hold on to your tube or to reveal your Utes? This is something I've wrestled with. And now that we have a more firm date in mind for this reveal, it's now something that I'm posing to myself a little bit more frequently. So, Dor, let's kick it over to you first, and then I want to go to you, Joe.
Yeah, man, I'm honestly been thinking, should I reveal or hold? Isn't that even, or by reveal or sell? Isn't that about even me? I'm not even factoring keeping a tube. I'm like, should I reveal? But I'm like, wait, I could sell and then buy back in potentially lower. I know Frank has worked magic many of times, and I'm not doubting this dude's ability to effectively market, but there's a trend that I only can go off of, that anytime post-reveal, we see a pullback in price. So it's like, I'm thinking about selling into this pump. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm still contemplating it.
Yeah, it is. It's something that, I mean, we got 48 hours to decide on. So I know we'll be talking about it pretty extensively in our group chat. But Joe, want to kick it over to you. We've seen about a 7 sold pump, 10 sold pump now in tube prices since that announcement. This sounds like we're starting to really ramp up. It's going to be very curious to see over the next 48 hours. And it could be tomorrow. It could be 24 or 48 hours. Who knows when it's going to be? I'm going to guess it's on the latter side. Just knowing with all the delays that we talked about, he's going to want to extend his time frame as much as possible, back test it like 100 million times after all the FUD he's gone through. But Joe, want your opinion. Are you going to reveal immediately? Are you going to wait to reveal? Are you going to sell into the pump? What are we thinking here?
Yeah, so for me, it's more relative. My choice is because I have DGODs, and my Utes and twos is tied directly to them, and I know there's future utility for that. And with Frank, he rewards people that play the game, how he lays out. So to me, I'm going to pop my because I sold, right? I had more than I had 1-to-1 ratio for my DGODs. I had more, and I did sell them, right? The extra ones already offloaded, right? Right around 117 to 130, I offloaded those, and I made plays with that liquidity. So the tubes that I'm holding now, I'm going to reveal right away, and I'm just going to stick them right in my ledger, and they're tied to the DGODs that I have 1-to-1, and I'm going to forget about them. Now I kind of wishing I didn't sell the ones that I didn't have 1-to-1 allocated, because I can see Pentoshi, like all these big guys are going to probably switch their PFPs to Utes, and we'll see that flow kind of happen. And there's a good chance. I know people are like, oh, wait to reveal, commons will get floored. I just think how they're setting this up, if they do it how they've explained and how they've kind of gotten everyone excited for, I do see like a 150 soul floor. I see that sticking for maybe, the 4-day hype cycle, right? And then we'll see kind of that pullback. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's not a bad play to move your UTE, right? To hold it and see what's going on in the market, though. Not reveal it right away. Maybe give it 24 to 48 hours and kind of make a play off of that. I think that's not a bad idea either. But yeah, my spot is more relative than others who got the UTE list, like my boys here on the panel. So I'm actually excited to hear what you guys are thinking about.
Yeah, I only have my one tube, so I'm probably just going to hold on to it. I'm not going to reveal it immediately. I think that's kind of my play, is to see what price action looks like, because if tubes have just a substantial amount more value than a common UTE, what I may do is I may just take a loan out against my tube, see if I can reveal it. And that's another question too, is I got to find out if places like Sharkify will let you reveal the tube, because if the revealed tube is a UTE and it's in a different collection, right? I'm not sure what the mechanics are going to look like there, because they may just lock up your tube. So it's going to be interesting to see. But if there's a spread that I can capture where I can just, like, let's say that commons are 100 and tubes by the time they run up are like 140, right? It's a pretty good spread, and I'm fine with taking a common, like a good looking common. I guarantee you these things are going to slap. So like even the commons or mid rares, if I can find one at a decent price, like I think that might be a useful capture worth a spread, rather than gambling to see if I get, an epic or a mythic, right? The degen side of me says, let's reveal it. Let's see what we get. Let's see if we get a lotto ticket. But at the same time, it's like, bro, we talk about preserving liquidity all the time. If I can capture a 40 soul spread and still be in use,
dog.
I'm going to,
Easy.
and I don't have a DGOD to tie it to. So these things are running up right now. We're looking at about almost 130 again. So just in the time that he announced that we've seen about a 13 soul jump, I would say these go up to 140 again. That was like our previous support that we saw for a while before, a lot of this FUD started circulating. And now that we're getting closer and we have, like I said, this is a much more concrete statement, because you're making it to Breakpoint of all people. Like, that is an audience you do not want to. There is VCs in there. There are like people like Big Brain are attending. You don't want to mess with that crowd, right? You make that statement, you're doing it. So, and there's a reason that he didn't fly to Lisbon too, is to make sure that this works out tremendously. So, I'm in the firm camp that this time it's different, and we're actually going to get a reveal here in 48 hours, which means, like you guys were saying, cascading liquidity into the rest of the market, whether it is just in UTEs and cycling UTEs, and we're going to trade UTEs for 72 hours post reveal, which I definitely see being a thing. A lot of people are going to make profit, and they'll rotate it into other projects. So it's now we start playing that game that we originally talked about, staying 2 steps ahead of the market, because if we are starting to see a lot more sideline capital start entering the market, then sweet. That's kind of my opinion on it. Joe, do we have any closing statements before we move on to some of the other stuff?
Yeah, man. If we see this liquidity rotate as it did last time, we have several projects that are coming to mint that already have a lot of hype. Popheads, Cleanosaurs. People were kind of skeptical about that 5 or 7 soul mint price because of IOTA from John Lay. But when market sentiment turns around, people will easily throw 7 soul around at something like Cleanosaurs, and I bet that thing pumps mad. Same thing with Popheads too, because people are feeling good. People are feeling like they have some money to throw around and plays to be made. So yeah, man, if UTEs does release before those, I'd start looking at Cleanosaurs and Popheads as potential plays. If you don't already have a whitelist, please don't start grinding for it, because it's probably already too late and you're gonna waste your time. So
that's right. You need to go watch Dorian's video if you guys haven't already. If you guys are listening on podcast, go subscribe to Dorian's channel. It's gonna be great. With further content,
or you gotta meet me in a dark alley 1-on-1.
Joe, any closing remarks on UTEs before we kind of talk about some other stuff as well?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Dorian. Right? Let's look for the trickle down effect of some bags being made, because a lot of people with money in this space accumulated more than one UTE, and they're definitely going to take some profits, and that's going to be liquidity flowing. I think Liberty Square did it right with the hollowed. I think they may not have had an idea of when Frank was going to release this, and they're going to hit right afterwards, maybe Sunday after the hype, and we'll have some liquidity falling around. So if the hollowed looks dope, I think we can see some push in there, and a 5 soul floor might be pretty plausible profit area for that as well, for some scalp day traders out there. But It's exciting though to actually talk about liquidity, right? Guys were like, "Oh man,
Yes.
look, trades here.
Yeah.
Like, the volatility's back."
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
It's been dry, bro. It's been so dry
Mhm.
lately, and it is one of those things that we've been saying, like, it isn't really a trader friendly environment. I know there's a lot of high frequency traders out there that are doing pretty well. If you can trade in size and everything like that, like, yeah, you can make gains right now, but the amount of attention you have to spend on this market versus the reward
Yeah,
you're getting out of it just
true.
doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people. So
Yep.
it's just evaluating the opportunity cost and kind of figuring out, like, is it worth it to keep your eyes just like bleeding on charts versus spending time developing your brand or working on Web 2 stuff or whatever that looks like, right? So I'm excited to see Utes, what the effect has on the market, what the art looks like. I mean, there's just so many good things that come with a Utes reveal, and I'm curious to see, like, once the Utes reveal, that's when he starts to get to work on the fun stuff, because Frank he said it long before this that he wasn't ever a master of the pre-mint stuff, and then like the short post-mint stuff as well. So reveals, everything like that, not his forte. What is his forte is social engineering and what he can do with the community and everything like that. So once this all gets revealed and we're all buzzing again, that's when the fun starts. And I think we're going to see a lot of movement in the market outside of just Utes itself. So, we'll see what happens there. But Dora, I want to talk to you a little bit about IOTA, because we
Yeah.
both minted.
Yep.
I minted one. I could have minted more. You still can mint more. I think that's what I want to talk about right now, because I'm seeing a lot of fun on the timeline about, this isn't 101. These are absolutely right. They're editions. We call them editions for a reason, right? It is a print style digital collectible. You only get 1,500. It's limited scarcity. You see it all on chain. You still have provenance and everything like that. It's different. And the thing about IOTA is, the reason I'm so fine minting IOTA is because it actually has utility. That's one of the things that I've had grievances with in the current editions market. So we somehow strayed away from like these 25, 50 editions sort of drops to larger and larger editions, where we get what I call edition cycling. And I'll be covering this in my 101 video. But with edition cycling, it's, hey, you have to, we're going to buy these editions. Let's say it starts at 30, 40, 50. Then it cycles into the next edition. Well, the next one's going to be 100. The next one's going to be 200. The next one's going to have a collab, and it's going to be like 300.
Edition
right?
Ponzi.
So it is kind of a edition Ponzi, and I don't blame creators for kind of taking this route right now, because royalties aren't enforceable, and so there's no real way to, like, why lock up scarcity at all? Like, your goal is to make money. Shoot, in the short term, we're going to just edition Ponzi this stuff. With IOTA, it's different. And it's one of the things that I've said, like, I think this is going to be John Lay's last edition for a while, at least, while he works on the comic. Like, that alone has its value to me. And then you also have real world utility. This is a $150 mint if you want to talk about it in terms of USD price. And you actually get a limited release comic. It's like a 1-on-1. There's only going to be 1,500 of these tops. And there's not even going to be 1,500. It's only one per wallet, essentially. Or one per shippable address. And so it's one of those things that, to me, it's a no-brainer, right? Like, I would personally spend at least half that on just the comic alone, knowing that if you guys aren't in the comic collectibles sort of world, I'm certainly not like a veteran or anything, but what I've always talked about with the comic people is that the first ones are the most valuable ones. Like, and this is his first release that is self-released, that is independent. Why not go into this? Like, are you kidding me? People pay like $1 bajillion per these limited drops of shoes and stuff like that. Like, you see it all the time in collectibles. And so I don't understand what the Solana community is thinking. And then I also think that if royalties are enforceable again, we'll stop seeing this edition Ponzi. I think that's going to be like where we start seeing it break, or where we stop seeing the value start going to, because then, creators have incentives to, like, hey, we want to, incentivize you in different ways, so we pump up that floor and we get royalties. And so we are still maintaining our supply. Dorian, I want your thoughts on IOTA. Where are you at with IOTA? And then we'll go to Joe too, because I know Joe holds some GMs as well.
Yeah, I think it'll mint out, man. Even though people are undercutting the floor of the mint price right now, it's only 173 left. I'm confident that John Lay has enough sway in Solana to be able to convince people to mint out this collection at mint price. But yeah, dude, I'm super bullish on it long term. I think it's one of those things where on John Lay's part, I think it would have been better for him to make it clear that this was an addition, because there was a lot of confusion about it being a PFP. And like, if he would have just came out, hey, this is an addition, and really been pushing that one side things, I think that people would have had a different perspective going into this. So I think that might have hurt it. But overall, in the long run, once again, my thesis is just back solid founders. And John Lay is one of the pioneers of one-of-one's art in Web3. And he has experience creating a comic in Web 2, a successful one. And he's going to be one of the first people to create a Web3 comic that has the most likelihood of gaining any type of Web 2 adoption and bringing new people in. Hell yeah, I'm going to back somebody like him. It's a no-brainer. It's like, this is one of the things that are going to be, we're going to look back in a couple years and be like, why didn't more people get into this? I think people's desire for short-term gains outweighs their ability to think a couple years in the future. Everybody looks at CryptoPunks now and like, oh yeah, CryptoPunks, of course, it has provenance, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? CryptoPunks was around in 2017, 2016, and nobody touched that thing for what, 3-4 years before he got to the point? Same thing with Dogecoin. Dogecoin was out 11 years ago. Guess what? You had all that time to accumulate, and now people are like, oh yeah, Dogecoin to the moon. But guess what? That thing was below a cent for like 8 to 10 years. So people have such short-term memory, and that damaged their ability to actually make profit in this space. And this goes back to Bubble Goose too. Same thing with Carl Jones, because the utility that John Lay is providing is similar to what Carl does. Insight, ability to have access to the creator in the show. I find that valuable, but a lot of traders don't find that valuable. And I think that short-term site hurts their potential profits and hurts the creator, or not hurts the creator necessarily, but they should really desire to have access to something that has this much potential for adoption.
Yeah.
Sorry for the rant.
No, I mean, you're right though. I mean, it's one of those things that like, you can look at it from two approaches. One, we already tried this approach with Carl Jones. We tried it with Bubble Goose, and like, you saw what happened. People flooded it to the ground because they didn't have something immediately tangible to grasp onto. And like, you're not going to get a fully animated show it might not be for another year. You know what I mean? Like, it very well could be a long-term horizon play. And that's kind of what I banked on when I bought them. Right? I was like, look, this is one of the ones that I'll store in the ledger, and, we'll just keep it there, and that's fine. And, it's one of the things that you clearly see a lot of Solana people have not had any experience in ETH, or at least research it, right? Like, most of my liquidity is tied up in Solana. We all believe that it is the better suited blockchain moving forward for most of the apps, the dApps, the DeFi, the NFTs, right? It's just more frictionless. But ETH has like way more history to go on to. So, it's one of those things that, like, you look at Xcopy right now. He does the same thing over there and has raised 23 million in sales just from doing the same exact thing. We talked about Proof Collective on Twitter, where Proof Pass is literally the same thing. What you get access to some of the brightest minds in the space. So, I think a lot of people are undervaluing it. But, Dor, I'm going to let you finish your thought, and then we'll go over to Joe.
And I just wanted to bring up, it's like, people are questioning, like, why is Adam going to launch Iron Paw on ETH instead of Solana? Guess what? You're looking at it right here. You see people freaking out about 150. Look, I understand people have different financial backgrounds, and I'm not judging you on that. However, I do think it's a bit absurd to judge a well-founded, like, a artist with a professional history in creating a brand and say that his work is not worth 5 SOL. Get out of here, dude. Adam, go to ETH all day, dog. I'll support you over there. I got you.
That's right, bro. I get fired up thinking about it, like, because we talked about it too, where I was just like, how could Adam do this at first? And like, I was the one who was pushing back the hardest out of all three of us. I was like, why is he going to ETH? Like, we fed him over here on Solana, which we didn't. He has Web 2 work that fed him plenty in advance before he came over to Solana. And Solana was fun back then. I think one of the things that's going to happen is that Solana price goes back above a lot of people's entries, because ETH, a lot of people that were in ETH were like, maybe they bought the top at like $1,000 back in the 17-18 cycle, right? And so they were underwater. They were down bad for a while too. Or you bought it in at like $700 or whatever that looks like. But when you get back over that hump, it's like a lot of people are like, okay, I feel better about my bags now. 1 ETH is 1 ETH. And, like, whatever. I like it has more purchasing power over here. So I think that's one of the catalysts that we'll see over there. Joe, I want your opinion on IOTA. Did you mint? I never got a confirmation from you if you minted or not. And if so, is this going into your long-term bags? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I had one and I minted one. I sold a GM at like 11, I think. I had two of them left. I sold one at like 11-ish, and then I held my other, and I minted whatever it was, 5 sold on exchange, I think, with the full creator royalties enforced. Now, my question is that tradable only on exchange art now?
IOTA?
Secondary wise? Like if you were to list it,
I think so. I haven't checked.
right? It's like locked, right? You can't trade that anywhere else. But I like that for one-on-one artists for sure. But yeah, like you guys said, man, if you looked at any of John Lee's editions and you waited for FUD to come TFE and GM, you could have had re-entries so low and they ride back up. Like I mean, an actual digital utility, right? He's bringing actual art utility to art curators and lovers. Like you get a handcrafted limited edition comic book with so much passion and love within that. So like, yeah, I'm all in on that. And I'm also all in on like Lotus Gang, which I slept on forever. And I listened to Shake Space and I was like, yo, this guy's passion and honesty in Bungle is almost enough to make me go dump so much liquidity. So I went and I watched. Dude, I watched it go down to 13 soul, and I watched how quickly people bought and delisted back to 15, 16. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be, right? This is one whitelist allocation. They're not making you spend more soul, right? It's the one of one. You get it, right? You have your Lotus Gang, you're getting the Lily. And I really think that I've slept on it too long, and I was able to acquire one around 14 and a half soul. And I look forward to sticking that in the ledger as well, because I think that's going to bring some cool, different, unique utility where some people might FUD it right away as well because they're used to the staking. Give me money, give me my money back right away. Like, yeah, I'm super stoked for these plays. I think the liquidity is going to be nice for these guys because we're going to have intelligent investors with some bags that are excited to, accumulate some of these really cool plays. So I like both of those for sure. Yeah. And then obviously Adam, man, like you can't go wrong. A Voxel Monkey's looking more and more like a play for me. Like Dorian, and like to liquidate just some stuff and just grab one. I'm right there with you, bro. 2 just went on the market too. I'm like, but yeah, man.
Dog, I've literally been thinking about like rotating, like flooring by youth, flooring by Tayo, flooring some other stuff, and freaking picking up a Voxel Monkey. And I'm like, am I crazy?
No, I don't think you are. I think where Soul is right now too, and with Adam going to ETH, right, and like eyes coming on him there, and then they go, oh, what's his original pieces, and where did he come from? And like, dude, I don't think it's a terrible play, man.
I don't either, man. But it's just like, and then I'll get like
liquidity up. But don't even like really intraday trading anyway, so it kind of forced your hand into the long-term stuff anyway. So it's not like a terrible play for an investor thesis like yourself.
Yeah. And that's why I've been considering a lot, man. I'm just like, man, this is looking hella appealing. Like, whoo, and I might do it, dude. I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence, but I'm hella thinking about it.
Yeah. With Voxel Monkeys, the only thing that would hold me back, and it's like, believe me, I had that same thought, Dor. When I saw them at 300, I was like, I should buy one of these, huh? And we should have. That's 150 soul profit minimum right there. But what I'm looking at is that he hasn't announced that 4th way to get whitelist for Iron Paw. And I'm wondering if there's going to be anything, if it's related to Brave or anything like that. It's a speculation there that's kind of like, well, like let's pause a little bit. Let's see if there's some value to be extrapolated here, because if so, I could be trading, this 4th thing, whatever it looks like, whether it's a drop on ETH, whether it's a drop on Soul, and whatever that looks like. Maybe I could be trading that and be making some money over there. So, it could be some value, and it could knock down the value of Voxel Monkeys too. They'd be like, oh, well, this 4th way is a more cost-effective way to get into Iron Paw. So it's one of those things that like, that's the only thing that was holding me back. And hindsight 2020, I should have just grabbed one, but whatever, that's fine. All right.
Oh, quick question. Yeah. Before we move on to your next thought, real quick on this fact, did you guys hear anything about Invisible Friends team and Adam?
Yeah.
Right?
So
he rumors about that, and I'm hearing that it's going to be an actual announcement. We like to front run here, and we like to speculate. I'm an idiot thinking out loud. It's never financial advice because I have no idea what I'm talking about ever. But yeah, just a couple guys chatting it up. What do you think about that, Bison? Because I'm I have no idea what Invisible Friends even, I'm going to be honest with you, are, who the team, I don't have 0%, but it seems like it's a solid community that people are excited about. So is it an ETH project? Do you know anything about that before we move on?
Yeah. So it's an ETH project. It's over there. You can go check it out on OpenSea. Dude, it ran up big time. It's now it's still maintaining a 2.7 floor.
That's good.
Over on Ethereum. So like they're a team that's still around. They're still going to be around, and partnering up with them. You talk about animators coming together to make an actual PFP that's desirable, because we talked about it. I know Stealthy Jesus, shout out Stealthy Jesus, was talking about it in the dojo chat and was like, one of the things I'm hesitant about is animated PFPs. And I was like, yeah, I get that. But Invisible Friends is one of the ones that has actually done it at a high level and executed. And they don't even have face traits or anything. They're invisible, right? It's just the clothing. It's just the apparel. It's just the animation of them walking forward. And they do it on a simple level. Imagine what happens with Adam, who's going to customize the animations and the sounds to go match with the traits. It's going to be crazy, dude. So look, I would say this is a good point, Joe. If you want to look at a comparable, Invisible Friends is probably a really good one. Like if you don't think these aren't going to 2.5 minimum, like I'm telling you right now, they're going to. Like, not financial advice or anything, but this is a really good comp right here. So this is a really good point, Joe. And if they're teaming up with them, I mean, like any sort of misunderstanding or lack of knowledge in ETH that he doesn't have, he will now make up for it by teaming up with the Invisible Friends team. So incredibly bullish on Adam. You know,
what
it's
about
just
Brave Drop? Do you think people are kind of forgetting since he pushed that back and with Utes reveal that liquidity? Do you think Brave Drop might be a decent play for our soul players here? Because I get these things, but I'm not in the one-of-one space like you guys are, so I'm not really sure how things are ebbing and flowing, you know? So, but it seems like this is, I mean, he's lined up for, I mean, it seems like he has good, positive feedback from everybody I've heard. There's not been a lot of FUD on Adam or his kind of plays yet, so I'm just very curious about the Brave Drop as well. Is that just a PFP that's getting dropped, like art-wise? Do we know anything about that?
Yeah. So there's going to be 4 different types. I have to go look back exactly what they are, but they're going to have 4 different utilities, and that's all that's been mentioned. There's going to be 2,500 of them. So it's a very limited collection size. They'll basically be a collection of 4 different editions, right? And they will each have like separate utility. So that's something to look after. My eyes are completely on this Brave list thing, because I think in the short term, that's one of the ones that flying under the radar. I like seeing these fly under the radar things that like not a lot of people in the community are talking about. Yet Magic Eden is endorsing them. And look, we all have our, thoughts on Magic Eden and what they do. I know Adam is talking about it with them too. He's talking about, like, they told me I need an IP lawyer to get them off, like get my stuff off their exchange, which is hilarious. But nonetheless, like, they're talking about royalty enforcement. So I don't know, man. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if whoever comes out with royalty enforcement first, skyrocket, dude, skyrocket. I mean, like, we saw Simpler have a nice little bounce up with their what I would call a remediary royalty solution, but it's not going to be on the contract level. And so if they get this right over with Brave, and if there's a more goated team than Brave, I don't know what like you're smoking over there, because that is a massive team, and so I think they can execute it properly. So that's my 2 cents. I think this is one that's going to fly under the radar. It's a 3 soul mint, which is not that much these days. I'd say that's pretty average, middle of the road sort of mint. I also saw UGS. I don't know if you guys saw it too, but UGS's price is not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be 5 soul plus. And I think it was about 2.3 or something like that.
Oh, that's not bad.
So much more palatable. I think that'll do really well too. That kind of bumps it up my ranks a little bit from last show. But yeah, we got a lot to be excited for on Soul. I'm telling you right now, it's just like, we got to find the community, and I think the community will find its footing once Soul starts going back up again. And it becomes a little bit more palatable, like, oh, my soul's worth something again. Like, this stuff's going to pump. We got liquidity flowing into the ecosystem. Like, everything will be okay. It's just a matter of when, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Dude, Bison and Joe, I agree with everything both of you were saying. Bison, both of your takes are always solid. I just wanted to bring it back to like the point that you were making about Adam and like how you see these things being at least a 2 ETH floor, dude. Yes, dude, I completely agree with you, man. Like, super bullish on it, like beyond any comprehensible reason. Like, he's done everything possible to make sure this is like the most successful launch that it can be, man. Like, I'm being cautious when I'm like, okay, these will probably mint and it'll be like maybe 0.35, 0.5 ETH or whatever, but it's super hard for me not to see these going above an ETH. It's a smaller collection size relative to everything else on ETH. It's a super curated community relative to everything else on ETH. He's got all the connections. Dog, these things are going to print, man. And I'm just trying, honestly, it's like, I just want to pick up some, to make profit, of course, but also to be within that community.
Yeah, that community is going to be top tier.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what comes out of it. We always have been here on RareFUD. We've been Adam stands for a while, but Joe, I want to go back to one of your other points too. You're talking about Bunjil. Now, if you guys haven't listened to the dojo, which I haven't because I was not available, 5 p.m. is like a no time for me because that's when my wife comes home and, I got to spend time with her and whatnot. But, like Bunjil is one of those guys that's an OG project too. Lotus Gang has a very rabid community. And that point that he brought up in the dojo where it's a 1-to-1 for like, you don't have to spend any more soul to get that Lily mint. That's one of the things I speculated. I think that's one of the things that like, I think is so good. Like, it's a bigger collection size for Lily, right? It's a 10K collection. You reward current holders. So floor price go up, floor price good, everybody happy. Then you have 6K left over that you can mint out to different people, right? And so I'm bullish on collections like that. And now I'm trying to think of like, what are some other good collections, OG founders that have a 5,000 or less collection size? Maybe like a Cyber Samurai would be a good idea. That are going to come out with another collection here soon that, are going to reward holders. And so in Cyber Samurais, it was Sush that was airdropped to us. But, I'm starting to think of like an investment thesis of, well, who else is going to come out with a second collection that's going to be really good, flying under the radar or anything like that? So I'm going to have to do some research. But, I think if Lily does well, we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of that, dude. And so it's going to be interesting to find out. But yeah, I love Lotus Gang. And the fact that you're getting a 1-to-1 sort of mint for it means that I don't think the price is going to like dramatically drop like we saw on GM with IOTA or anything like that, like we saw on Catalina after Bubble Goose or anything like that. You just get one, right? Just for holding a Lotus Gang. So interesting to see how it all plays out, my friends. Any thoughts on Lotus Gang before we move on?
Let's keep moving, dog.
All right, we'll keep it moving. So we got a large panel of stuff that's happening on Breakpoint. It is our thumbnail. If you guys haven't seen, there's probably the biggest weekend in Solana as far as like the who's who of Solana are going to be there. Everybody from Solana Labs, everybody from Eddie and that team. You got Raindrops and Boots. You got Frank making the announcement. High Blinks and John Lay are going to be there. I'm kind of just parsing through this to see if there's anything I can glean on like who's going to come out with a big announcement that may pump their floors. I think this is where we're going to see a lot of alpha. So I'm paying close attention to it. Make sure you're linking up with somebody who does have connections over in Lisbon that is actually present and can give you the 411 on what's happening over there. But Joe, I want to kick it over to you guys. Have you seen anything on the schedule? Anybody that's going over there that you're thinking, maybe I should pick it up now before any sort of announcement goes? I want to go with you first, Dorian.
No, man. It's like that's like my bags have been packed for any potential announcements. You're gonna say like all the key players are people that we've been talking about for months now, like John Lay, High Blinks, even Frank with Youth. So if you're trying to pick up things now, which is a great time because we saw some of these floor prices drop. So, but yeah, man, there's nobody in particular that I'm like, oh man, I need to jump in before they start speaking or mention anything for alpha purposes. Because your boys are already prepared.
Yeah. Let's kick it over to you, Joe. What do you got for us? Have you looked at the schedule or anything like that? Is anything popping out to you as far as the guests go?
Oh yeah. Well, not as guests. I think there's a lot of cool people. I mean, I'm excited to hear like Bartosz and Jordan speak about like Raindrop Protocol on basically like the layer basically the candy machine for gamifying games on Solana, right? Like, so like that's really cool to hear and really break down. But I'm hyped for the pours. I think that's going to be an insane first time mint that's going to be rolled out to everyone that doesn't even have Solana wallet. Don't have to have any soul in that wallet or nothing. You don't have to know anything about NFTs. you clack your phone on this sticker, and boom, you got the pores, which now you can literally take traits off, take traits on right on that mobile app on your phone without downloading anything. It's going to be a huge onboarding event. People that are there are getting one per ticket, so I don't see people dumping these, because if you paid money to go to Breakpoint, then you probably don't need liquidity to quick flip one of these. So looking forward to that rollout to see how kind of a mass adoption works for Raindrop protocol, like the true Raindrop protocol, not with like a secondary that they're adding this protocol to. This is going to be a freshly new mint made with Boots and Raindrop protocol and Cupcake all into one. So I think it'll be really cool to see for the squad there and for Solana in general, right? Just from an onboarding standpoint. So I'm excited with that. And I think, like Dorian said, man, a lot of us front ran a lot of these plays going into Breakpoint, because we realized, like, just, looking for a 50 BPS, hike drop in December, along with Breakpoint, along with midterm elections. We kind of knew volatility was going to be here. So I think we kind of front ran those plays, but I think there's going to be a lot of alpha drop there. I know Liberty Square and them are hiking up to head out there. And yeah, so I think it's good. Like like Bison said, keep people that that are there that might be able to give you some lines of information while we're back here in the States or wherever you're residing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking through the panel. So a few that stick out to me that I think may be good pickups. I'm just looking at charts here. First is Helium Network. Now, I know that sounds crazy. If you guys have been on H&T for a while, they have absolutely capitulated down to $4 per. They ran up to about $56 per coin. They have quite a bit of panel speakings going on there. And we've already heard that they're basically going to come out with a Web3 network, essentially, with location and everything like that. And they migrated over to Sol. I think this is bullish, honestly. Right now, it's a very low risk, high reward sort of play. If you're looking at the chart there, it's at $4. It's at pretty much a weekly order block. And dude, I think HNT, it might be a play here. And I know we like talking about NFTs here, so maybe they come out with an NFT. Who knows what that looks like? But Helium Network definitely on my radar from here. And then I also want to bring it up to these. One of the panels is go-to-market strategies for Web3 games. And some of the people on there are Aurori. So Aurori, I think, may be one that you want to look after. That is an OG project that has been building through the bear market. I looked at some of their demo gameplay. It looked all right, but I think it will get better. It was just a demo. It was just an alpha demo for very select people. But Honeyland, do you guys know anything about Honeyland?
I don't know anything about it. I know one of the guys in Cyber Samurai is a mod or community manager over there. I know several people in the dojo are pretty bullish on it, but I think they're going to be coming out with a token that allows games to use it within their ecosystem. So it's kind of a deflationary / stable token instead of just a Ponzi token that people farm and dump. But yeah, I don't, beyond that, I don't know much about Honeyland.
Okay. Yeah, Honeyland's been on my radar for a minute. So if they continue to build, I've seen some cool things of like their eggs hatching, and they got land system over there, and could be a fun Web3 game. I'm big on Web3 gaming over here.
Yeah, same.
But Honeyland is definitely one that I want to put on the map. And then Highblinks is going to be over there, and we speculated with her first edition that Highblinks sounds like one who kind of gets the business where she will reward holders. So. She did come out with 2 editions recently, a Sailor Blinks, which was like a Halloween fun edition. It was a low mint cost, it looks like, and it was an open edition for a while. I don't know if that'll have too much utility, but the first edition, as well as Game Over, I think was another one that came out. There could be some alpha there as well. But really from there, it seems like a lot of infrastructure plays that are going on over there. So not like a huge amount of projects are over there announcing stuff. But keep your fingers on the pulse. That's kind of what we're getting at here. Make sure you have connections over there. For us, Saigo has been feeding us a little bit of information from the little amount we've had so far. But Dojo Chat, one of the best plays, one of the best things you can do is pick up a Cyber Samurai, and you get all the updates from the people that are over there in Lisbon, because we have a few. But yeah, I'm just looking through all of this, and it sounds like a lot of infrastructure plays. So I think the 3 that I talked about, that's kind of what I'm looking at there. Let me know if you guys have any other insights on that. But besides that, we can talk about alpha as well and just wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it. So, Joe, I want to kick it over to you because we haven't heard from you in a little bit. what are you looking at right now? I know you've been playing Liberty Squared pretty often. I know they're over there in Lisbon. I think that's definitely a catalyst. And they've been, they're one of the projects I see as a future blue chip. So, I'm looking to re-enter Squirrels. You caught the Pico bottom basically. With the 7 play, which I talked about sub 10 as a buy, and I didn't buy back into it. Now I'm like kicking myself. I'm like, why don't I ever listen to myself? But
you always, this is the hardest part, is to counter trade yourself or to actually listen to yourself. It's like, which one do you do, but you're always on point with it, Bison. And man, I'm bullish on them. From my first aspect is they have a runway. They allocated their funds to be alive for 3 years, regardless of what happens, right? It's already set in stone. That's bullish, right? Now you look at like how much communication is there, how much transparency is there. Oh, a lot, right? They're out on spaces. They're constantly telling you what's going on, what they're thinking. And you just see the hollowed, you see the intricacies, right? Different ciphers and speculation plays can be made. They know how to build hype as well. And their COO, Bryce, has been in the space. People respect him. They have respectable people on their council. For me, they just dropped a big hint last night. One of the top 10 companies in the world is building an ETH layer 2. And Liberty Square will be one of the first projects to mint on their chain this December, right? So it includes being cross-chain. So 2023 is going to be huge for LS, because you're going to have a hollowed and a LS staked in order to probably get a whitelist allocation for this. And it'll probably be Filth, cross mint as well with Filth and such. So there's a lot of speculation plays for Liberty. I just like the team because I feel safe putting money there. Like I feel safe putting Tayo, put money in D-Gods, right? I feel safe with that because I know that they're working and the guy cares about it. Supposedly, this guy's pretty well known in the actual Web 2 space. And I don't think these type of people want to come in and throw dirt on their name or on their ecosystems in Web 2. So I'm bullish on that aspect. So yeah, been playing Liberty Square's ecosystem, also making the speculation play on Brains under 1 Sol and Zombies under 2 Sol. I just think the gamified aspect, if they come out with an infrastructure that's cool visually, you're burning, you're seeing your levels, leaderboards. We love gamified shit here, right? So like I can see that. I'm not saying crazy, but yeah, you take a nice 1.5 to 2x, absolutely. So I've been playing the speculation play with that. Scrap, I think, is going to take off because you're just now seeing Tom roll the ball down the hill, right? Like, all right, let's get it going. Let's start it. Shards will be explained more. And the ecosystem itself, I think, will be rolled out in a more digestible manner for the regular plebs out here, right? No offense. So yeah, those are some plays I'm looking at for sure. And then other than that, man, I'm just really like Cyber Sams are severely undervalued. I know Door's on the squad and I know we're in, but seriously, like Shake's not playing around. And talk about another guy that shows transparency and communication and has been working for a year plus in the space, no matter bull or bear. Right. So like, you got to look at those. Those are nuances that, they don't pay off right away. You're not waking up next morning with 100x, but you can feel safe. Like, yo, I'm front running the next meta. People will phone into my plays now. And I think that's what we have to start thinking about, right? Where are your liquiidity pockets at to sell into? Zombies and Brains, cool. Gamified speculation, liquidity pocket. Cyber Sam, delayed gratifications, amazing art and team. Like, these are all liquidity pops that you have to look for if you want to exit, right? If you want to enter and exit projects and create moon bags so you can stay in that community. So I'm off my high horse. I appreciate you guys. I missed you. I'm so happy to be back. My heart feels full. Bison smile, Door smile. I feel amazing. I appreciate your guys' energy, and I love you both.
Dude, I share the same sentiment, dog.
That was excellent. Joe, I want your take real quick before we go over to Joe or Door.
Joe 2. That's what you call me.
Do you think Squirrels or the Hollow is a better play moving forward?
I would wait till after Utes reveal and Hollowed reveal, but you're going to see a six set is going to be 6 Hollowed per set, and they're going to get Filth emissions as well, right? So you'll be able to build sets and have Filth emissions. I truly think that Squirrels, like you said, under 10 and Hollowed under 3, if you can get those entries, even one apiece, to get that allocation for December is going to be a huge rollout for this mint. You're going to know everything you need to know, and it's a legit top 10 company in the world that's creating a layer 2 on ETH. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's nothing to mess around with. So I think, like, just like we did with Adam, just like we did with everybody we've been playing, guys, for months now, right? We thought ahead of the pack. And this one might be ahead of the pack, right? People will forget. Utes are going to roll around. People might forget about it until that liquidity is being spread, and then Liberty comes December with a nice pop, right, when everything's quiet again. So that's just my speculation play on it. So yeah, I think Bison, bro, having one of each might be advantageous, but the entry is where we question it.
Right. Makes sense. That makes sense to me. Dora, let's kick it over to you. What are you looking at right now? Anything that's catching your eye?
Joe covered everything very concisely and did a great job doing it. Brains and Zombies is one thing that I'm doing. I brought some brains at 2.4, but I've been averaging down. I brought some at 1.2, and then I'm buying more brains below 1. So I'm just giving it a bit more time because the actual game's going to kick off next week. So I think once that happens, people are going to FOMO in. Raw is amazing. He works at Frack. Very, very intelligent dude. Once again, Cyber Samurai had an interview with him, and it was an amazing thing. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm bullish on Brains and Zombies. So I really think it's going to capture the attention of the market once they start rolling things out. We've noticed that the market wants these gamified staking things based off of previous mints like Cops and Robbers. Even as traumatic as that thing is, it was super exciting. Neon Game, that was another one. So it's like the market has been yearning for something like this, and I think Brains and Zombies will be able to deliver. But I've been focusing on things outside of NFTs, and I think right now is prime opportunity to be farming airdrops. So I'm looking at things such as Sui. What else did I drop in the chat? Tervana or something like that. I'm going to be farming that, and it's ZK Sync. ZK Snark. I think they Stark or whatever. I can't remember. ZK something. Yeah, Starknet. There we go. Thank you. There's a farming guide out there on that. So I'm actively looking for these farming guides right now to go ahead and capitalize on them. Because whether or not they pay off in a month or two, it's like it could pay off 8 months down the road. I did some airdrop farming for Optimism and Arbitrum a while back, like almost a year ago, and I got the Optimism airdrop, and that was like $1,500. I'm like, appreciate it. So I'm trying to prep myself for these upcoming chains and L2s just so I can become eligible for airdrops on them.
That's smart. I mean, it's smart. It's free money.
Both you guys are Catalina whale lovers, right? Obviously. Yeah. Well, Instagram will test new NFT features with, guess what? Catalina whales, baby, for the first time.
Look at that.
It will be the first NFT to be tested by Instagram. So I just wanted to get that out there. I think that's really freaking cool.
You know, that's one thing we didn't talk about too much, and we should have. That should have been like one of our key points was Instagram and Meta rolling out Solana support for NFTs. I mean, like, huge. Dang, man, that is crazy. Huge. That is a huge catalyst for Solana. Huge
catalyst. And Catalina has Boots integration coming on the back end, new merch coming on the back end that's not been really advertised yet, guys. Like, man, that and I keep forgetting to tell myself, like, yo, look at an entry for that. Like, that's almost stupid for me not to pick up a whale right here. So I actually have to look into that because that's a team, like we said, hype's not there, but they're not stopping. They have, they're not stopping. Their war chest is serious. They got connections throughout the whole space. And they don't care about that liquidity pop of farming announcements, but they are building cool stuff. And look, the first project to get integrated with Instagram, like that's what you don't just pick a random project and go, oh, we'll throw shit at the wall.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah, it's just nuances like that. I kind of got to slap myself in the face and be like, yo, wake up, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, you got the mixer coming in a month too. And, you know, I've been holding my whale. I will still hold my whale. It's one of the whales that I'm going to throw in the ledger and I'm just going to let it ride. And, you know, it is my forever whale. So I will probably pick up more on Elixir. That's probably where the floor is. So if you guys are listening to this, make sure you're checking out app.elixir.io, I believe. Let me go ahead and check that so you don't click any scams. But yeah, I would trade it over there most likely. And you can trade out. There's been some snags over there that, you know, look really good. Miami Meta over on Twitter has been talking about his snags. Talked about one today that was a troll, but he did get like the diamond grills, which I thought was so cool, and he got it over on Elixir. So making sure you're watching out for that. If you do have a whale, you want to swap it out. Definitely the place to do so. So yeah, I would say Catalina is definitely a buy. You got the mixer coming up. You got the first NFT to be integrated into Meta. That is so cool. I just like, it's one of those things. It's going to be like hindsight so obvious that you should have held on to a whale or bought a whale right now. And yeah, they're just a team you don't fade. And I know everybody shits on them, but you shouldn't, because they have more connections than you. They don't even care about you. We're We're all just
Yo.
saying JPEGs on Twitter.
Yo.
Dude, they're doing bigger things over there.
Exactly.
Yo, that's the same thing that I feel like a Bubble Goose. It's like they're over there shitting on Carl, and like Carl's like, you think I care about that, dog? He's still at work, man. Like the connection these guys have, it's like you want to jump on board because they're placating to the Web3 audience requires too much work and time instead of just building and then you guys jump on board. If you want to be on in the community, go ahead. And I'm down with that.
They're taking a more Web 2 paradigm to the Web 3 space where, like, listen, guys, Apple's not going to give you a roadmap month by month. They'll tell you what they're thinking about for the next year, and then they'll roll it out once it's ready. And I think there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's just it takes a little bit higher IQ, investors to buy into a project like that. So, and that's just, then you get a bunch of just giga chads that are holding, and eventually the vanity comes later. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yep. So, I Catalina at 15 just makes a lot of sense to me. You could probably find a really nice whale. I'm looking at the ones on the floor right now.
Yeah, Elixir,
nice
right?
ones,
I'm about to hop on right now. And they're like 15, right? 15 right now?
That's 15. Yeah. I see a toga for 16, dude. Like, wow. There's cat eyes for 15.4. I mean, like, easy buys right there. So I don't know. I look at this project. I know the team too. We're gonna go down there and meet them. Dorian and I are with the rest of the Cyber Sam fam and some other goated guests as well. And we'll see them down there. I think Easy's still supposed to come. I got to reach out to him, but Easy's going to meet us down there. So it's going to be fun, man. I think Catalina's one of those that, like, dude, they put on the best IRL events. And, like, that's one of the things that I think are undervalued in this community. So
isn't it rumored like DJ Khaled's supposed to be there?
They're supposed to have a sick lineup of DJs, and I would not be surprised if Khaled's going to be there. So,
I would not be surprised at all. Because, like, and that's the thing. It's like, when else are you going to be able to have the opportunity to hang out at a private party with fucking DJ Khaled? Like, never in a million years.
Unless you're paying like $4,000 for a VIP backstage pass to Bonnaroo or Firefly or something, and like a whale is 6 times cheaper than that, and you're guaranteed like 1 or 2 of these blasts a year, but you're paying $4K for a VIP risk to get it once. Like, I don't know. It just like the value proposition is there. I'm basically talking myself into it as we speak right now because I'm like thinking this is like.
Dude, it's like one of the most obvious things, man. It's like, let Catalina establish it. Like, we're starting to see these Web 2 brands come into Web 3. And if Catalina's establishes itself as the leading IP brand in this space and allows to help facilitate that bringing these companies in, dude, it's going to be insane, man. They're going to blow up, and it's going to be one of those communities that you're going to be dying. And one of those hindsight obvious plays, you're like, oh, I wish I would have picked them up at 15, but I was too busy fading them. Like, come on, dude. It's like one of the most obvious things in my mind, man. I can't.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me, but, we'll let people fade them if we want to.
Yeah, dog. Easy.
I don't really have any alpha outside of what you guys mentioned. I minted IOTA. That was probably the first NFT I bought in a while, outside of John Lay's GM. So, I've just been sitting on my hands and just watching deals present themselves. Like I said before, I'm not really the first mover on some of these things. I like to see a little bit more of an uptrend before. So, like Catalina, for me, I would add on to my bags if I start seeing strength going up towards 20 for me. But I'm still interested in buying some. So it is one of those things that, like, I like seeing a little bit more relative strength before I go buy into it. Because right now, not smart to catch falling knives. And, a lot of NFTs are still finding their floors or rediscovering them again after a mini pump. So don't buy into pumps right now. Watch for some strength. Watch for volumes of very vanity metric right now. Make sure you're watching the Wash Trading Index on hellomoon.io. And I think that's about it, guys. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show. We're at the hour mark. I appreciate everybody for coming out and listening to another episode of RareFUD Radio, episode 25. We'll be live next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like we always are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then also listen to us on podcasts. If you haven't already done so, make sure you go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, hit that little add button to subscribe to the channel, as well as leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It would be very, very much appreciated. Subscribe to the new channel if you haven't already. We are now on our own RareFUD Radio YouTube channel, and then we also have it on Twitter as well. There is no excuse to miss an episode. We make it very accessible for you guys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. And thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your constant support, and we'll see you on the next episode of RareFUD Radio. Have a good one, guys.